When it comes down to people and growing a team, a lot of those same ideals translate. And what I'm here to do is just kind of connect the dots. To give you guys maybe just a different vantage point and some whys behind some decisions that are made with your partners and also with HR and things of that nature. So just a little bit about me. I'm account executive with Longford & Company. We're based in Boston. We do executive search and high-level consultant search and recruiting. 15 years in operations management. 4 years of technical recruiting on the sales side, account management side with Longford and at Apple Technical Resources, how I first got into this business. Before that, I used to run multi-unit restaurants. So I ran Uno's restaurants, Pizzeria Uno, if you guys know that, for 10 years. Started after graduation in 2000, kind of moved my way up from your assistant manager all the way through to running all the stores in Boston at one point. 3 years with Bridge Service Solutions. It's my own consulting group where actually we'll go for helping like restaurant hops if you've seen the reality shows. I'm the guy that comes in 2 weeks and tells you if what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong, what you need to change, and I collect my check and roll out. But also, my wife and I own a Pilates studio, so Pilates back deck. If you guys ever have the opportunity, if you want to build your core, there you go. So some questions to pose to the room, like and they're kind of rhetorical. We already know from DevOps, especially the people that come, every meeting. We have presenters at the end of the presentation. That's the kind of code. Yeah, we're hiring. Wayfair, blah 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 blah. Everybody. So we're all dealing with the same thing. Like, who's hiring for DevOps roles? How's that going for you? How's your HR department helping and supporting you in those needs? Do you use agencies? How are they doing for you? What are you going to do at the end of the day? The pain points. As a manager or as a part of a team for building out your systems in dev, at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror and ask, look, we got to come up with solutions. Obviously, we can use every excuse out there which is legitimate as to why we can't find the right people. Let's start looking at different angles and to how we fill some of these voids. We're really defining and prioritizing some of our biggest needs, and then working back from that. All right. So the challenges in hiring, I just basically put 5 P's here: people, planning, process, performance, and pain. Pain is like motivation. A lot of times, individuals don't really look at something as on fire until it's burning their ass, right? Suddenly that then moves to the top of the top of the checkoff list. One of the things that I'm going to propose to you is pain shouldn't be the motivator. All right, sticking to the plan should be. This is how you're going to see it. When we talk about operations and DevOps, it's all about the plan, putting a smart plan together, and then really utilizing that as your guideline. All right. Back here real quick. How do I go back? Left arrow. Left arrow. Thank you. All right. All right. So one of the things here that I wanted to touch base on, this is something that we had in our mock. We had a mock trial last week here, just talking about labeling. All right. All of us laugh at kind of the concept of LinkedIn had 6,640 new DevOps jobs added in the last 2 months. All right. These are new roles that went in with DevOps somewhere within the job description, if not a DevOps engineer. What I broke down here, and this is from the executive report for DevOps 2014 by Public Labs. Have you guys had the opportunity to look through that? If not, I have the link, and I can share that with you guys. Definitely an interesting read. But one of the things they broke down is some of the traditional types of job titles, right? And then they switched over to kind of where where these jobs are starting to show up. In a way, HR is basically trying to brand every position as DevOps, because they're trying to grasp some of these what they consider very new ideals to try to get a competitive edge and above the playing field. Bottom line is this: by labeling your positions like this, you're not giving specific direction to not only your HR, not only to your internal recruiting arm, but also to your outside agencies. One of the important things for hiring managers is to really stay specific. Remember, when dealing with agency partners, a lot of these guys do not have the technical knowledge, obviously, that you do. All right, a lot of it is very surface level. When you as a candidate talk about getting pinged by recruiters and how you get jobs sent to you, you're an architect within software development, and all of a sudden somebody's sending you a help desk lead. A lot of times it becomes comical, right? We talk about the spam in LinkedIn, spam. You send out fake emails where you should be to kind of receive that stuff. The bottom line is this: take it as your own, like own it, to kind of trying to change, the information coming to you. If you receive something like that, one thing to do is take it upon yourself to try to educate that recruiter. Very quickly, you're going to have a quick 2-3 minute call conversation where you're going to know if that individual is able to be receptive, that they have the capacity to learn from you, to understand what you're saying in concepts. This is a powerful, powerful tool for you guys. One thing that I find for engineers is you really have to start to work your own network. A lot of successful engineers don't realize the importance of that, and that's something I want to throw back at you. Having real good recruiting partnerships and trusted partners, you're going to get a better look into what the market has to offer at the time it has to offer, versus being reactive, right? Not having a good day at work, thinking these are some serious issues that I've been dealing with, have been seeing happen over and over again, right? I try to go up the ladder, try to solve these issues myself. I take a real good me approach. What can I be doing, etc. Realizing it's not going to get corrected, right? So now you have to make a decision. I need to change my environment. At that point, you shouldn't be just receiving all these recruiter calls and being like, oh yeah, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? You have the right relationships and the right recruiters working on your behalf. You will know. All right. You will not be feeling that you have to make a decision through the pains that you're feeling at your current position versus what what possible opportunities are the grass greener on the side, and then you have to just look at the company, have your interviews, and then make a decision from that quick snapshot, right? One of the things that it's important for engineers to understand is the right recruiter are like high beams for you, all right? They will shine. They can shine on areas that you never thought existed or never knew were out there, all right? Yes, it takes a little bit of time to build not only that trust and partnership, but also the back and forth collaboration. Spending a quarter with an individual, going out to lunch, things of that nature. But I'm going to tell you something. Being able to make a decision on 3 opportunities that are right in your wheelhouse, over feeling that you got to make a decision because the clock is ticking, it's 2 serious sides of the ladder, so to speak. All right. And I think the value in what a good trusted partner can bring to you really outweighs some of the negatives of having to find those individuals. But take your time, all right? Make sure you're doing your research. You get pinged by a recruiter, they have a good email to you. It seems like it could be a blinking email. Do the first thing. Do what they're doing to you, right? Go to their LinkedIn. Start to read about them, all right? If it's somebody who's been out of school for a year, doesn't have any kind of prior professional experience, that's going to tell you a story, right? Don't immediately, unless the email is absolutely crazy, but don't immediately dismiss them. just understand that this individual is not going to be able to really give me, what type of political agenda is within this company, what type of professional culture is within this house. What do they look at career progression, things of that nature. This individual will be reading the script, but they have the ability to learn as well, right? And that's the important piece to you. Now you look at somebody who's more seasoned, you take a look at my LinkedIn, you're going to read, I'm a little bit different than what other recruiters that are paying you, right? But my messages are going to be a lot different to you anyways. Idea, objective, find the right partners, do your research, build a trusted relationship. Allow them to show you, give you snapshots of what's in the what's out there on the market. All right. There's another thing, and this is it's a touchy subject. You guys should be practicing your interviewing. All right. Now, this is something that as an agency person you probably don't want to hear, but bottom line is this: you don't practice, you're going to suck. All right. If you suck at something and you're not able to really show what you can contribute, what you can bring to the table, you can miss out on opportunities. So one of the things is it's good to not only build your network with colleagues, but also to gain that kind of having those conversations, things of that nature. It is helpful. It'll give you more confidence. So you come up to an opportunity that is a must-have for you. It's a dream type opportunity. You don't want to feel the pressures of, hey, holy cow, I haven't talked to it, I've been phone screened, I don't know what the expectations for doing it in-house, things of that nature. Those pressures start to dominate, and all of a sudden you can't really show who you really are. So it's a little different. When you're working with your partner, make sure you're open and honest about that with them. Like, listen, I'm tentatively looking, but I'll definitely entertain any opportunities that are within this wheelhouse. All right, so this is some of the things. Just interview your agency partner. All right, all of you guys are interviewing people, even when you don't realize it, like team members, things of that nature. Do the same thing to a recruiter or to an account manager. Don't be afraid. Create some specific goals. This is the big one. Specific, smart goals, right? They got to be measured. Make sure it's fully communicated. How the metrics are being measured. The timelines in which you expect to have some results. The accountability piece, right? If somebody says they're going to do something, you better know exactly what they're doing, and if they're not making the target, at least why and then when. One of the things, being available, and I'm going to tell you the inside reason for this, is a hiring manager and as a candidate. Me as a account manager, I have to go back to my recruiting team internally, right? And I have to say, hey, I have this opportunity with X manager, right? This manager needs these. We're setting up a time where he's going to be able to review, he or she's going to be able to review resumes. We're going to block out like a Tuesday morning from 9 to 12. That's the time that this individual is going to be able to interview. We need to have candidates submitted by X period. You see what I'm saying? By being available, having a plan, and communicating it, me as an account manager, going back to my internal recruiters, they are now motivated knowing that, hey, I have a target timeline. I need to get a qualified individuals in by X time frame, because on said date we're getting some activity. All right. So you guys know from a management perspective, agency recruiters are extremely motivated to win. So they will always go to what the account managers are saying or moving. If you as an account manager, this is where the issue drops off. If me as an account manager say, all right, X manager said this is what's going to happen, all right, we start talking to candidates, setting the expectations correctly, it doesn't happen. The recruiter's attention starts to fall off of you, so your role and myself, and starts to look at who is moving stuff. Where can I get a win? So setting clear expectations within any kind of situation It's how we find success working with outside partners. All right. One of the things, never go dark, and this is one of the things where you as a candidate, I'm sure, have had this happen to you. You're in the process. You're interested in the opportunity. You have a phone screen. You're reaching out to your recruiter, and they're not following up. What's going on here? The manager probably went dark on them. A real recruiter, a professional, will call you and be like, "This is the situation. This is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. And I apologize, but as soon as I find out, I'm going to follow back up with you at said day." Manage that recruiter, though. This is where we talk about the accountability piece. Be like, all right, thank you for touching base. So our next communication, hopefully with next steps or some kind of direction, will be on X date, on X time, etc. You end up actually building stronger relationships that way with your agent, your trusted agent. All right. Now, if you get completely blown off, obviously you mark that person off, and they shouldn't be talked about. All right, and that's going to happen. Understand that. It's part of the necessary evil, unfortunately. But I'll tell you, this business, the recruiting side, has gone into interesting ways. All right. One of the things I talk about when I do the internal consulting is, if you look around when I graduated in 2000, no one in my graduating class that I was associated or still are in contact are in this business except for me, right? Then I trained for Abbott and did all the training for the new account managers and the new recruiters. That's a question I propose to all the incoming groups. How many people are also in this business? Every hand went up in the last group at Abbott. Every new recruiter that we had hired on knew a friend who had graduated with them that were with a recruiting agency. So you guys, the reason why I bring that up is so you understand the machine is not going to stop, right? So you don't think that hey, we're going to get more professionals within the business. It's going to evolve. The bad ones are going to get weeded out. It's a grinding machine just because the need is so high for outside agencies. So take away, find the right partners for you, and keep those relationships moving forward. Okay. Oz principles. You guys familiar with that? It's more of a business term. Above the line. So Oz principles basically is looking in the mirror, not making excuses, looking at every obstacle as an opportunity, and trying to figure out the solutions around and above to get by those obstacles. It's a real internal looking function, but at the end of the day, you then can say, you know what, I've done everything, I've left it all on the table. We have to look at different another solution to fix these issues. All right, so here's a piece about kind of communicating correctly to your agency partner, all right? One of the things I've talked about is with job performance. Writing job descriptions, a lot of times what we're seeing now are just bullet points. What tools are we using now? We're going to use Puppet, Chef, I want some Linux with the flavors, do some scripting with Python, right? So then we basically put what they call a Boolean string together, and that's how we go and scrub the internet, right, to find new people. That's not going to work anymore, guys. And one of the big pieces is because we're not explaining the whys behind what we're looking for in individuals. Now, in order to get to this type level, you as their manager, as your team, as a team lead, you really need to know where the strengths and weaknesses of your team lie, right? In characteristics and personality traits. Jay actually brought this up, which is a very hard-hitting point for me. A lot of times, we are so highly focused just on the technical requirements and technical experience that we overlook the personality traits, right? A team is supposed to be stronger as all individuals contribute together, right? You're not having what Jay calls a bunch of sharks, like in it for themselves, which sometimes it's important for these individual contributors to be able to come in, just do what they need to do, but their whole motivation is to get in, do what they need to do, show how badass they are, and then bounce out, right? Versus what he was talking about, dolphins, ones that are able to work really well together. They learn from one another. they excel and push each other to be better. You know, that's really like the type of personality you're looking for. But you can't have all dolphins, right, swimming around with you know, none of the other things. You want to have a fine mix and balance. Your recruiting partner should know what that balance is. Should know what your team looks like. Should know how you know, how they interact. One thing is, don't be afraid to get them to go out together. All right. You know, take advantages of those opportunities, those space times, because it's going to pay dividends coming back with the type of candidates you're going to stick. Yeah, they might not have the 15 years of DevOps that, you know, all the managers are asking for, but guess what? They'll hang with you until midnight to fix that problem. That's the type of guy you want by your side, right? You know he has your back. That's something you can't have on paper, all right? So one of the things, benchmark performance by the best people now doing the job that you're trying to fill. I mean, these are, you know, like just some basic pieces. I'll be sending this out as well. Just some good best practices. You know, value potential over experience. I talk to managers all the time about this. San Diego has a problem right now because, you know, with AngularJS, right? They want to take every new prototype library they have in JavaScript and kind of make it into, you know, the next powerhouse. One of the things I talk to managers about is, you know, somebody who's a guru at JavaScript with jQuery can pretty much do anything that you can do with Angular. All right? That's the way I look at it. You know, it's the concepts. You know, if this individual has capacity to learn, you can talk to him, man. Talk to him. All right? Describe your vision. And one big thing that Jay like passed on, great mentor, tell a story. Because you know what? 90% of what I'm telling you right now, you'll probably forget. If I told you it in story form, you actually retain 70% more than you would with just bullets, all right? So when talking with your partner, as a candidate and as a hiring manager, have a story, all right? Explain to them like in a descriptive way, because that'll be something they remember, all right? That's something they can take back and translate a lot easier to their team, you know, and many times, high-level engineers speak the same language, so the story that you tell, certain receptive ears are going to want to hear that, and they're going to be into it. So just, you know, one, that's definitely a best practice. Okay, here's my thing on, you know, why recruiters lie. Do recruiters have ADD? Kind of highlight. These are some questions I know that a lot of engineers talk about. Like, you know, seriously, do they have ADD? I hear some horror stories of, you know, people getting pinged for development, which fits right within their wheelhouse. And then the same recruiter will come back and ping them like a week later for a systems job, like support. Like, Dave, you know, how does this happen? Why are people doing this? It's because that's disorganized. If one thing, you know, that characteristic for a recruiter is something you want to nix off, all right? If you're not organized as a recruiter, you will not be successful. They will not be around in 1 to 2 years. All right. You know, why are recruiters paying me for positions that are not even close to what I do? Lack of knowledge. All right. Lack of knowledge, and it's unfortunate. You got to take everything like a bell curve, right? You're gonna have 20% that excel, 60% in the middle, you know, and 20% that just aren't gonna make it. And as long as you guys understand it, you realize the value that you can grab out of people, utilize that, you know, and take what you need, right? That's really the end goal, like, because you're helping them without them really even knowing it. Now, who are managing recruiters? This is a question I have. Like, is it just a free-for-all? Are these guys, like, you know, am I placing people with Jay and they're coming in looking and trying to poach people out? I'm going to tell you guys something. It's an outlier if that happens, and I'm going to explain why from an agency perspective. You do not bite the hand that feeds you, all right? Now, some potential reasons why that could happen, disorganization within the ranks. Yes, there are some agencies that are just not honest, right? You know, there's some simple documentation that can be put in place to stop that from happening, and so, you know, that agency gets slammed with some serious monetary repercussions. But those type of agencies will not last in this business, all right? You guys know, man, like, as many people are calling you, or as many agencies that are opening up. 3 times more staffing agencies in America than Starbucks. fresh. And I am not shitting you. That's you know, I mean that's a tell right there. These are pretty common. Like recruiters are harassing me when I'm in a job, yet disappear when I'm actually looking. Why? That's a look in the mirror. You should be having those trusted partners that are giving you inside and outside looks as to what the market has to offer. All right? Even though you're happy, like I talked about, right? You still want a pulse on what's going on out there. All right? Because look, your dream job isn't knocking on the door when you're ready to open it. Okay? So be ready for when that opportunity does strike. You know, why should I trust recruiters? You know, hopefully you got the gist and the takeaways from that. You should trust the recruiters that are going to be partners with you for the long run, that understand your career objectives, you know, and that want to work to help you get there. All right, here's something that I took off of quickly with this was actually in the report, just to kind of show last year's implementation, you know, and these are metrics for 2014. One of the things Puppet Labs talks about is it's the first time they actually tried to standardize some metrics and to read from the data, you know, get some data points to see if the information is actually accurate. It's going to be tough, right? First year, you can't really take too much away. You know, we have to wait for a few more years of data. But one of the things is, we all know why, right? 57% say they are, of shops that were surveyed, say they are either fully automated or fully implemented, or they are, you know, grasping onto some concepts of DevOps. And of that group, right there, 50% fewer failures, 30 times more frequent deployments. I mean, this right here, competitive advantage is the reasons why, right? Now, the issue is this. There are not enough engineers out there to fulfill everyone's needs, all right? So one of the things that are a takeaway is really embracing some of the DevOps ideals and implementing that into your hiring, into your team building, right? Looking at your competitors, looking at your actual product competitors, you know, who sit across and are trying to take market share, and having open collaborative conversations, because there's a lot of times where there are the same needs, but the fear of you know, the resource limitations. Somebody that is not good for you might be good for your competitor. And if you guys are in open, honest, transparent conversation, they probably have the same thing for you, all right? And that's one objective, but the biggest one too as well is now you're taking a trusted recruiting group and you're saying, listen, you now have 2 clients and we're looking for somewhat of the same profile. That gives an account manager and agency a lot more ammo to be like, you know what? We have this many open positions within this many clients. We're taking our whole recruiting leg, our arm, and we're going to be focusing 100% on taking care of these clients, all right? So just think about that as from a wise perspective. You want recruiting agencies really just focused on your objective, right? Do they have ADD? They have ADD for what they feel is moving the quickest, all right? Give them the ammo to take back and say, no, our focus is all on Cengage. Our focus is on Data Zoo. You know, our focus is on, I don't know, Scout or Huge or whatever. But, you know, this is just an approach that I think kind of will give you guys a different look and a different thought process. You know, look in the mirror, try to figure out some solutions, work with your trusted partner, you know, be open, be collaborative, and find some success together. All right? That's just the bottom line. In order for all of this to happen, trust needs to be there. And it needs to be long-term partnerships. I've been working with Jay for four and a half years now, since he was with Harvard Law. All right? It's been a trust built up by just following through, doing what you're saying you're going to do, and finding some success. All right? All right. We answered that question already. All right? I like the little things. Opening more doors, because in life, that's what it's about, right? You want to have as many doors open and available to you as possible, because that is the way you make the right decision in your career. All right. And that is all I have to say. Here's some couple of references. Brian Healy, he's the dev director for Name Media. He has a really good YouTube video, Let's Talk About Hiring, and he really shreds it down from an HR perspective, like what HR does, the process, and then how he's basically cut it in half in order to hire in this competitive market. So check it out. I'll send these out. And Elaine Weary actually she's a longtime recruiter, and for Mevo, she was also director of development. She basically talked about how she learned how to recruit through being a dev manager and some of the best practices. And DevOps hiring, Name Media, Dave spoke at DevOps Days New York on black holes and things like that. So I'll send that out so you guys have some reference points and reading pieces to help you. Any questions? Dustin.
So it seems like a lot of this is focused around having integrity, being honest, being open and transparent. But as far as maintaining your experience with interviewing, going through that whole process, is this something that engineers have to kind of push back on the culture of their business to change, or are we going to stay in this state of denial that nobody's looking for other jobs when we're working somewhere?
No, that's a great question. But I mean, keep staying in the dark and pulling the wool over your eyes is only going to hurt you, right? Because that's when we bring in the pain points. So you guys know there's a statistic out there within recruiters. 67% of engineers, qualified engineers that are in a position, are open to looking, right? Your managers should know that. If they don't, then they've probably already lost a group of their teams. One of the things that we were talking about, Pete and I, is an exodus of your team, all right? People leave leaders, not companies. Remember that, So you as a manager or, as a lead should fully be embracing the fact that your people are highly coveted, because you know what? That's a team you put together. But you should also not fear the fact that they know under your leadership they're going to gain so much more than if they have to, go look elsewhere. Now, if they are looking actively and seriously, you gotta look in the mirror and really ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing? And don't be afraid to then talk to your team about it. Is there anything I could be doing better? That's one of the biggest. Look, let's be honest. Egos are usually the largest obstacle to get over. People will allow for failure to happen before allowing their ego to get bent down a little bit, right? But the whole real philosophy of DevOps is egos can't get in the way. All right, solutions are what drive everything. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
So I think there's other factors involved in why people quit and move on as well. I mean, I can't remember what I saw it, but I saw a report that people have changed jobs X number of times, and on average, so much more than people stay in the same job for 5 years.
Okay,
there's career advancement for people. I'm leading a team at the moment and a hiring manager, but I'm well aware that certain people may quit at any time, and I tell my team I don't have a problem with it. You come into a company, you achieve certain things over a couple of years, it's natural to be looking around.
No,
if there's anything we can do to make your life more interesting here and enhance it, then fine. If we can't, move on. We'll refresh the team.
That's very pragmatic. I mean, I always say, I never expect people who work with me to retire with the company that they're at. Right? It's unrealistic. And there are certain levels. A new person comes in, hopefully expect for them to make it through 24 months, 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
And typically at that point they reassess. Is it good for the individual? Is it good for the company? If they say yes, then you're probably good for the 3-year point. If you pass the 3-year point, you typically make the 5-year point. At the 5-year point, you probably want the person to move on, unless they're a superstar. So, having them stay too long and having them stay too short is not good. So, what's right? what's the appropriate
to the
time
first
frame for these?
to the first guy's point, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, I expect people on my team are looking. If I see someone with LinkedIn up or Monster or whatever the hell people use these days, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
The point is, everyone has to actively manage their career.
Yeah.
And then, look, I have a lot of managers that talk to me about like a progressive mindset, right? They feel that, 3 to 5 years is the time that you're able to add value and retrieve value from your current opportunity. It actually becomes detrimental on both sides. Yeah. Going stale, like starting to get comfortable. You start, like innovation and comfort, what do they say? Don't align, right? If you feel like you can show up to work and be comfortable, get out, all right? Because you're not being challenged, you're falling into a rut, and then all of a sudden, that becomes a habit, and then then now you're trying to just protect comfort rather than keeping yourself innovative. So that it's a good point. Being with leadership, that open transparentness, like those are the situations where you as a manager are probably looking too, and you're going to know who on your team you want to be working with again, and what type of environment. So definitely unique.
I think it's especially a point in DevOps, right? Because engineers that subscribe to the DevOps ideals are really looking for challenges. And I think we're only like a year or two away from seeing job descriptions to maintain legacy DevOps systems.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, I can't imagine many people it's going to be a totally different crowd that wants to work on that than that built them up in the first place.
Anything else?
I have a quick comment. I like what you said about forming relationships. I've been doing consulting for a really long time, so I haven't had a full-time job in a while. But I actually still form relationships with a lot of headhunters, and to me, it's completely polarized. There's never anybody in the middle. It's always you're either exactly how to pronounce the technologies, a little bit about each of them, and then you're also probably the kind of person where I'm going to meet up for dinner or lunch every once in a while, or you're spamming me on LinkedIn with something that's obviously incredibly templated, and there's really nothing in the middle. And I don't know if anybody agrees here, but even just I don't expect recruiters when I'm talking to them to know and understand specific technologies, and sometimes even if they try, it's almost like a turn off versus wanting, oh, they're looking for this and that, and they're just listing specific technologies. It's just stop. But just being able to pronounce things like Django and MySQL instead of MySqueal and Postgres, and it's to me that's I wish I could get that message out, because I also have a lot of friends who are engineers who literally use that as a filter. It's if they call you and they can pronounce technologies that they're hiring for, that's immediately A+, and they're going to talk to them. So it's just a comment more than anything.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to tell you why. You want to talk about competitiveness in the market, right? Recruiting is extremely difficult, and this is the reason why this happens. You have veterans who actually have been able to survive, right? They call the plateau 24 months in this business. People who are not going to be successful in this business will fall off within the first 24 months. Usually 4 months into it, all right, this isn't for me, right? But then you have a group also that lasts a while, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. The founder of my company, 22 years in this business within the Boston area. These are that's what you get. You either get your entry level who are still trying to make it, or you have your veterans. All right. The objective, in which I'll throw to you, which you seem to have already done, is know who those key veteran players are, because guess what? Like you guys, executives in high level, you guys know about one another, all right? So are the senior level recruiters, all right? Your top tier recruiters in the Boston area know who one another are, and a lot of times, even what you want to hear in somebody. If I can't help you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a name of a guy that I trust or a girl that I trust who should have better success in what opportunity you have, because that really is what it's about, right? Is if I can't help you today for what you need, let me at least put you in touch with somebody that's going to be able to. So, you know, definitely good for having those relationships. You know, like leverage those guys to be able to build more within their network, because that's a good best practice. And then you can just kind of set up, you know, spam filters to not talk to the rest of them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It's not something you covered, but I'm wondering at what point we're going to get away from printed resumes, and actually just, I mean, you can find out everything you need to know about someone by going to, you know,
GitHub, blog,
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn.
Google, and Facebook.
You know what? I'm going to tell you. You know what drives that? Look in the mirror. Like, yeah. Listen, you know, a good recruiter is going to do whatever their manager asks of them, because ultimately, look, they want that partnership, that relationship built up. You know, and that's a very good point. Give that direction. You know, for me, I really feel that recruiters should know that. It's something that I talk to that I mentor. Hey, you know, get the GitHub account, see what activity have they been contributing.
I mean, the last recruiter that asked me for a resume, I said, just go to my LinkedIn account, I'm not resume. And that's what they use.
No, and you know what? Look, it's a progressive way of thinking, and it really should be out there, because honestly, the bottom line, look, if a recruiter with 1 year's experience can find you, like, you know, through their little channels of bullying strings, then directors, dev managers will also be able to identify, like, you know, who knows what they're talking about. So also, that's a very good point. Do not be afraid to have, you know, blogs and your thoughts out there, man. I'm going to tell you something. When we start to shift to that personality matching, you know, the technical information that you're providing for the community will be a big tell on to, you know, like what teams that you'd be fitting in well with, what teams you can be successful with, what companies are, you know, have visions that are like and follow some of the visions that you have as an individual. So, all right. Hey, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it. Now I'll just pass it off to Dustin, and we'll start posing the questions to the panel.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.